Where are the parents that's saying you don't belong here? Why are you here? You gotta take responsibility. That's your property. That's your property. We can't get out and do everything. If I own tenant units in Pemberton, Brownsville, Mount Holly, wherever, I'm gonna do my best to make sure my tenants are protected, because guess what? I want them safe and I want them there. I'm not just looking for rent. I want people that's gonna take care of the community while they're there. I'm trying to get started, because once I get started, it's hard for me to come down. But just the people that's here from Sunbury, you've been here for the second time now, and I see the faces. I'm not assuming. I know you're the one that's the responsible ones. You're the one that's willing to stand up and speak up and say something. I'm sure if your kids come with something that's not theirs, what are you doing with it? It's not yours. Take it back.
Ma'am.
Then again, it's parents. It goes back to the parents, okay? And it's not us to do that. The police can't go in and make the parent, have responsibility for their kids. Not right now, please.
Yeah, I'm good.
You all right?
I'm good.
The speeding down the street, the speed bump, I think would be a good idea. I don't know how. Speed bump is great, but think about something. Speed bump is a big thing. Wintertime, snow. It makes it probably more difficult for snow. But I love speed bump because it will slow you down. If you go over speed bump too fast, it's going to tear your car apart. And it's not just a speed bump at the end of the block, because they're going to speed up in the middle. And if something can be done, I'm all for it.
Dennis and I have talked about we're going to bring that to Public Works to see what they can do, because we can do it ourselves, we believe, in-house. So we'll look at the project.
And guess what? It don't have to be a speed bump. It could be a dip. And a dip will tear a car apart more than a speed bump will.
That will help with the drainage.
And that's probably the answer to the question about the parks being locked 24/7. Because I know when I used to live in Oak Pines, we used to go back there, and looking back at it now, it isn't access. My kids used to go back and forth in there. It's open, and we've been in, at the time we were in Oak Pines from '91, and it was always accessible to us. And that's it for now.
Administration, real quick. When you look into the speed hump thing with Public Works, can we also look into increasing the lighting in Sunbury? That was mentioned. Also, someone mentioned the trash company not picking up the trash. If we could have somebody reach out to the company just to voice those complaints. And I was watching, I'm sorry I forgot your name, so I'll call you Miss Oakland, because you're from Oakland. Okay, I was watching her video, and it does look like there are a lot of code enforcement issues, just from what I'm seeing. If we could find a way to possibly, have our code enforcement officers maybe go out and pay a little closer attention to what I'm seeing on video.
And the hiring of the 2 will help that.
Yeah, we'll actually have 3.5 at the end of this hiring, and our goal is to increase in that area in all our enforcement. But you can't solve all these problems with enforcement alone.
Right.
You can't enforce your way out of these problems,
right.
Whether it's with police or code enforcement. It comes with, and another woman, Oakland might have said it herself. That
Her name is not Oakland.
I know, it's Andrietta? Andrietta. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, she might have even said it. It's the community. The whole community has to come together to make this work. And I've been saying this and advocating this all along. But we are working on the code enforcement issue. We believe that there is a deficiency there, and we've been in a little slump because our 2 code enforcement officers abruptly resigned and left us, so we had to go through a hiring process. But we'll be ramped up here very soon. So if your grass isn't cut out there, I suggest you cut it and clean up your yards, because we're coming out.
And just one more comment.
We have 2 houses in Sunbury that I can't do questions.
You can't have conversations from the audience.
Right. I do appreciate that, but Just so council knows, we are addressing the code enforcement issues, and part of those issues with those on that video are the vacant houses. We have 2 vacant houses that we're working to actually tear down through our funding and put liens against it. We can't do them all. We don't have the money to do it, and we're going after the responsible parties when we can. But we are addressing those issues as we can do them.
Mr. Allen?
Sorry, one more thing, to follow up on your trash question. Sorry, hold on, no, Ken. And then Mr.
I mean, you had your time. He asked to finish.
Yeah, just last thing. Oftentimes people come to these meetings when there's issues going on, and they point the finger at administration, they point the finger to council members, but council and administration hears you, and we're working towards some of the things that you're saying. Recently we found somebody that's willing to step up and do organize a community watch. I heard that was mentioned. So we heard that idea, and luckily somebody was here that night and is willing to go ahead and take on that role. Dave just mentioned the vacant house ordinance. Years ago we put that in place. So we're trying. People have mentioned there's a few people saying that they're not seeing a police presence in Sunbury, but then the next person comes up and they're giving kudos to police officers for being out there and giving tickets. So on one hand we're hearing that there's not a police presence, but then on the other hand we're hearing that there is. That being said, at our last meeting, as most of you are familiar, we just hired or will be training 9 additional officers. So we hear the complaints. We're hearing that we need a little more officers to survey this portion of town, and that's what we're doing. And that being said, Mr. Gober, I was trying not to say it, but obviously you're pushing this surveillance issue. But my question for you is, what are you doing to better Sunbury? I hear you. You're giving people second chances, but what are you doing to better Sunbury?
Mr. Gardner, on garbage, real quick, you said you had a follow-up.
Oh, the garbage in the street happens to me because I think it's a procedure for the trash company. So when you talk to them, those guys, they do a fantastic job. They're in a rush, they want to get it done. But when they take the garbage can and they dump it in the truck, it's easy for them to just slide it in the street while it's upside down, and if there's trash stuck in there, it's going to be on the street. So I don't know how they can work that out as far as put the trash can back the way it was, because sometimes there's garbage, like someone said, in the bottom of the trash can. Once they dump it, they keep it dumped, put it in the street, and they slide it. And I've picked up trash in my house.
He nailed it right on the head, because it happens everywhere.
I personally would recommend putting your trash in trash bags before you put it in your trash can, and just use your can to contain your bags from your house. Yeah, it may cost a little more, but it does keep it a lot cleaner. I get the same thing. Mine are out in the middle of the road when I come home. I got to go pick them up.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from council? Bless you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Council, any changes to the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to pull 21-2017.
21.
On
That's
the
an
new
ordinance.
business.
That's an ordinance. That's not a consent. It's not a consent agenda.
Okay. How about new business?
Go ahead.
A, 1 and 2.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to pull number 171-2017. And Mr. Gardner, you said new business A, 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
I just have a quick one for 182-2017.
Anyone else? Is there a motion on the consent agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion as amended.
Is there a second? Poll the council, please.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes. Resolution 171-2017 authorizes cancellation of property taxes on a property qualifying for veterans property tax exemption.
I just pulled this just because I'd like to abstain. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a motion on Resolution 171, 2017?
I motion Resolution 171, 2017.
Is there a second?
I second.
Poll the council, please.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Abstain.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes. Resolution 182, 2017 awards contract to Preferred Tank and Tower Maintenance Division Incorporated for repairs to tower water tanks in an amount not to exceed $21,250. Ms. Jackson.
Yes, Council President. My question to administration is, what are they actually going to be repairing this go-round?
The repairs generally, they have access ladders, the ladders, the attachments of the ladders to the tank. There are some parts of the tank that need to be reinforced, and a number of connections and valves that we cannot do in-house, and all of this was work that is required by NJDEP regulation, and we had a company come in and evaluate what is needed. We had previously authorized another contract for the interior cleaning of the tanks and removing of the sediment that builds up in the tank. Those two projects will be done later on this summer and the fall, and that should put those two tanks at wells 11 and 8 in really good shape for a good number of years.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion on anything else? I'm sorry.
No, that was it. Council.
Motion on Resolution 182, 2017.
I'll make the motion on Resolution 182-2017.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Poll the council, please.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes. I just want to explain, when we're in session, the door has to stay open because it's considered an open public meeting.
I understand.
That's all, that's it. Yeah, that is considered a closed public meeting, so. Yeah, I got it. I understand why you did it. It's just, there's rules. Ordinances for second reading, public hearing, and/or final adoption. Ordinance number 21, 2017, an ordinance of the Township of Pemberton requiring business licenses for motels and other transient residential businesses and establishing certain additional requirements in the interest of public safety. This portion of the meeting is now open to the public for discussion or comments on ordinance number 21, 2017. Anyone wishing to make comments on this ordinance, please come forward, state your name, print your name, and make your comments. Seeing none, we close this portion of the meeting to the public. Council, any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Gardner.
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Gonzalez, on 21-2017. First question is, how will the township enforce the length of stay in those 30 days?
Well, the ordinance will allow the township enforcement to get information from the entities that own the transient hotels and to review them and any other information that would come to our attention.
Okay,
it won't be an easy thing to do.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us to my second question is, like, will the township get notified when a new occupant moves in, and how?
No, these are motels and hotels. People come in and out for a day or two, so I don't think we would not automatically know who it is coming in. It's just an opportunity for us to review records and to get other information about any individuals that have essentially been using what is a motel room as an apartment, essentially.
Okay. Which goes to my next question, which follows up that. So are there any kind of provision in, say, like, for instance, state law, which would allow the occupants to stay longer than 30 days?
No, if there was something in state law that allowed them to go beyond the 30 days, Mr. Baer would not have approved the ordinance because it would be contrary to state law.
Okay. All right, so what if after 30 days, can the occupant just initiate another, do they get like another automatic 30 days? And what if they are to simply move to another unit in the motel?
Well, I think we would take the position that that moving from one unit to the other is essentially a continuous occupancy, and then ultimately, and we wouldn't be issuing a summons against the occupant. It would be a summons against the owner of the property.
Correct.
That's the argument that we would make in court, and ultimately it would be up to the municipal judge to determine whether our argument is a good one.
Okay, and,
I think it is.
all right, last question. What if the 30-day pertains to, like, for instance, a local resident who has an emergency, like a fire or something? Does that 30 days still?
I think in emergent situations, there's always a little bit of room for that sort of consideration.
Okay. Good enough, thank you.
Anyone else?
No. Nope.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 21, 2017?
Motion to, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 21-2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes. Ordinance number 22, 2017, an ordinance of the Township of Pemberton amending Chapter 190-45G of the Code of the Township of Pemberton entitled Site Plan Review. This portion of the meeting is now open to the public. Anyone wishing to make comments on ordinance number 22, 2017, please come forward, state your name, print your name, and make your comments. Seeing no one, this portion of the meeting is now closed to the public. Council, any comments?
None.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 22, 2017?
I make the motion to adopt ordinance 22, 2017.
Second.
Poll the council, please.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes. Ordinances for introduction. Ordinance number 23, 2017. An ordinance amending Chapter 162, Article 1 of the Code of the Township of Pemberton entitled Tax Exemption and Abatement Program to include residential properties as eligible properties for tax abatement agreements. Before we move on, I'm going to ask administration for some background information concerning this one here.
This is 23?
Yes.
Introduction, Dennis.
Yeah, the introduction? The state of New Jersey has an enabling statute that authorizes municipalities by way of an ordinance to adopt a program of tax abatement for improvements for improvements to property. As you all know, a month or so ago, Mr. Gardner had asked me if we had this type of ordinance in place in the township, and I told him that I believe we did. After checking, I was only partially correct. We do have an existing ordinance for the graduated tax abatement for improvements, but only as to commercial property and industrial properties, and it did not include residential properties. This ordinance amendment will include residential properties. What happens with this is that we will put together an application process and to ensure that that the properties are eligible and establish dates. Typically, an application for the program would have to be submitted no later than 30 days after a certificate of occupancy is issued. And what happens is that the taxes on the property stay the same. This does not abate an existing tax or change an existing valuation of the property. As an example, if a property is assessed at $100,000, and just to round it off to make it easier, and the taxes were $2,000 a year. If someone got the proper permits and did $20,000 worth of structural changes and repairs to the building, typically the tax assessor would send a notice saying your property is now worth $120,000 and you have to pay property taxes based on $120,000, which the extra 20 would be, let's say, $400. So what this program does is to encourage property owners to improve their properties, spend money on their properties, improve the housing stock, and then the difference in taxes, that additional 400, is not due immediately. The first year, you don't have to pay the extra $400. Then the following year, it's only 20% of the 400, and then the following year is 40, and then 60, and then 80. So on the sixth year, the township will be receiving the full taxes based on $120,000 valuation, and the property owner has seen some financial benefit, which hopefully, and this is, I've done this in other communities, and this will encourage people to spend money on their properties, which ultimately benefits the aggregate assessment of the township and improves the quality of the housing stock.
Council, any discussion, comments, questions? Is there a motion to introduce ordinance number 23, 2017 with public hearing to be held
September 6th.
September 6th?
I make the motion to introduce 2017 to public hearing in September 6, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes. New business. A1, Public Works, purchase of water meters, meter boxes, and solid covers for Methodist Church at 2 Pemberton Browns Mills Road from Atlantic Plumbing Supply Corporation in a total amount of $3,622.13. Mr. Gardner.
Just two questions on that. Since the church never had a water meter, is it like standard practice for township to purchase the water meter for non-township structure?
All of the water meters belong to the township.
So it's ours?
Yes.
Okay, and that was my next question, which is answered. And okay, yeah, I see the cost for the meter. Are we going to do it ourselves in-house?
We install the meters.
Okay. And final question, since we're doing the church, one particular church, are there other churches in the community township?
There are other churches that have been non-metered, and I believe those meters we had the meters already, and they've been installed. We're trying to get all of the churches that did not have meters with meters put in, so we can actually charge what we're supposed to be charging, as well as the schools. There have been a school or two that have been without meters. This does two things. One is we produce water and we need to pay for water, so everyone who uses it needs to pay for the water. And also, it'll allow us to calculate what water is used and paid for our reports for New Jersey DEP. One of the issues that DEP has with us is that there is too much water that's unaccounted for. One assumes that a small percentage of water will be lost through leaks, etc., and not going through a meter. And we really need to meter all of the water so that we know how much water is produced from the wells, and then we know how much water is paid for at the distribution end, so that we can reduce the unaccounted for water. It impacts what we're allowed to draw from the aquifers and all that sort of thing.
And applies to all other non-taxable entities?
Non-taxable entities pay for services, and that includes water, sewer. Yes.
If you don't have a meter, it's going to be installed eventually.
Yes, it applies. And the truth is that the churches have been paying. It's that they've been paying the minimum amount without knowing what it is that we're providing.
And just to set the record straight, it's not a tax, it's a usage fee.
It is not a tax. We're not allowed to tax
Correct.
churches.
That's why I want to set it straight. That's it.
Is there a motion on this purchase?
I'll make a motion for new business 13A.
I second the motion.
One.
I'm sorry, A1.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes. A2, Buildings and Grounds, purchase of acoustic sound panels for Country Lakes Recreation Building from Gramco Business Communication in a total amount of $5,945. Mr. Gardner.
Just a question. Based on your correspondence, you said it's an ongoing issue. What's the problem with the acoustic panel, and what's the purpose of it?
There's a bad echo in that.
Yeah.
That building is has been historically horrendous for sound. You can't have more than one person speaking at any given time.
Right.
You're focusing on that person.
Yeah.
I suggest that before we put them in, just stop in and go in and do a clap test. That's one of the things they do. It's all you got to do is one clap,
And the echo.
and you'll hear the echo problem in
So
there.
let's turn it into an opera house.
Well, I think we'll get off a lot cheaper if we put the acoustic panels in. We've looked at this for some years, and we're finally getting to this point where we're going to correct this issue.
Just curious.
Did we select one that, I guess, visually complements the building?
That
because
was
there's
my
different-
problem,
Yeah.
finding something of that nature. And if you look around, you'll find they're all basically the same. These are a little softer. They have a beveled edge, and they're tan in color, so they're a neutral color. But they're all basically still panels, and they're just a dense panel that just basically they put these pins on the wall, and you stick it to the wall on the pins, and that's what holds it. But it works. We had the sound guys go out there and actually evaluate the site to tell us what we needed in how many panels and so forth to do this. This is where we're at.
Okay.
Anyone else? Is there a motion on this purchase?
Make the motion to approve new business 13 Alpha 2.
Is there a second?
A second.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes, parade permit application, public hearing for Seroptimus Candlelight Vigil on South Lakeshore Drive from 5:30 to 7 p.m. on September 29, 2017. Anyone wishing to make comments on this parade permit, please come forward. State your name, print your name, and make your comments. Seeing none, this portion of the meeting is now closed to the public. Council, any comments?
None.
Is there a motion?
I motion to approve public parade permit application.
Is there a second?
Second.
Poll the council, please.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes. Any questions or comments concerning the engineer's report?
None.
Okay, moving on. Approval by council required for payment of vouchers on bill list dated 8/11/2017. Is there a motion on the bill list?
I will make that motion on the bill list.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Poll the council, please.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, however, I'd like to abstain from any and all items pertaining to the New Jersey State Police and/or the Attorney General's office, which is my employer.
It gets longer and longer every week.
It was the same statement last meeting.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes, except for any bills related to the fire department. Solicitor's report.
I have nothing tonight, Council President.
Mayor?
Just one thing, there was a comment made earlier about, you hired 9 police, and that's great, it's about time. Just for the record, I can assure you that Chief Jantis and I have been diligently trying to bring officers onto the department for several years now. We're in a situation that we just can't hire anyone. We have to go through a process, civil service, and it's very difficult. So for the public's, knowledge, we continue to try and bring good officers on. We think we have a good crew coming in here now. But if we get 3 applicants on a civil service list that we can't take off the list for permitted reasons, but we don't find them 3 applicants suitable for what we want to bring into the residents of Pemberton, we can't bypass them. We have to hire one of them, and we will not just hire someone just to bring a body on, and that holds us up until we get a new list. And that's kind of the problem we ran into the last couple of years. But we did pretty good with this list, and we hope to do better on the next round.
Yes, Mr. Gonzalez.
If I may just follow up on this, last year when we had the prior civil service list, the chief and his staff reviewed 400 applications of people on the police list and could find no one suitable to be offered a position as a police officer.
Wow.
Anything for administration?
I'd just like to mention, and you all may be aware, but the vinyl fencing, Mirror Lake Park, it was knocked down from the storm, and it looks like there's a portion that's still knocked over, that needs to be replaced. And I remember a few years ago, we received some complaints about belly busters. Their sign was missing, and I believe it was the Burger King and Browns Mills also. So I don't know if there's like a time frame for I don't remember if there's a time frame for businesses when they have issues with signage that might go missing. But I also noticed that the McDonald's
also.
yeah, the McDonald's sign, which I believe was fell apart as a result of the storm. But I noticed on Sunday that sign is still missing also. So if there's a time frame, we might want to contact them about getting a new Mickey D's.
We'll have code enforcement look at it and give them notice, and then they can tell us, what their reasons are. I know sometimes, I think the last time Burger King had the issue, they had to order it specially, and they can only get it from one source, and it was a while. But I believe they finally got it. I hope they did, and if this is a new issue, we'll give them notice again, and then if they need a little extra time, we'll work with them, but...
It's not Burger King, it's McDonald's.
Oh, so Burger King is...
Burger King was
Burger
the issue years ago,
Okay.
which I remember,
Right.
so yeah, it's the
and
McDonald's
it may
now.
be a similar situation with McDonald's, but we will notice them and then find out what the reason
Or maybe Burger King stole McDonald's sign.
Never know. Burglar, or whatever he is.
Oh, that's a good one.
Anyone else?
Burglar, that's it.
Council comments?
Yes, thank everyone for coming out. I'm a bit disappointed for the folks that was here was asking questions and then left without hearing an answer. To me, that's the equivalent of going into like a theater yelling fire and run outside and see what happened.
Yeah.
So, if you have a concern or whatever you want to hear, ask the question and stick around to hear the possible answer or solution without going home and then going to Facebook and then trying to solve it and then get the people's court and then start making up, their version of what should have happened or did happen. Ask a question, stick around and get the answer. Simple as that. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
I just would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I thank everybody for their comments. As we have said in the past, council do care. We do care. We are listening. We are trying to move forward, and we're concerned about not just one portion of town, but the whole entire town as a whole is the job of the council, not, we hear everything, we sympathize. The other thing I want to mention, Council President, is that I think sometimes people, especially if you're not used to coming to a council meeting, during the comment section, it's not that we don't, want to answer you, it's a comment session. Session, thank you. Comment session where you have the opportunity to say whatever you want. It does not mean that we have to answer you. And when we don't answer you, it's not because we don't hear you or we don't want to. It's just that's how it goes. But we are taking notes, as you saw this evening. So thank you and be safe, and we hope to see you at the next meeting.
Well, thank you for coming out, and I totally agree with Councilman Donovan and Gardner about sticking around so we could answer afterwards. And because we are taking notes, and we do care about this town. And one of the residents said, last time and even now, do your job. I believe thoroughly we're doing our job as elected officials, this administration and this council. So thank you.
Anything?
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out.
Me as well. Have a safe trip home. Carnival's here. Enjoy the funnel cake. Till 10 o'clock. It was 9:30 last night.
Please do that.
Yeah, rain chased everybody out.
Oh,
Yes, thank you.
It's always a
You already did it.
I did it.
okay.
Second.
Second.
It's always assumed, Donovan. It's just like...